I came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me. She is now desperate and I blocked her everywhere. Hey everyone, I just need to get this off my chest. Here's my story. So I, 30 have been dating this girl, Emily, 28F, for about 2 years. Emily always had this charismatic energy that drew people to her. She was the life of the party, the one everyone wanted to be around. Our relationship was great, or so I thought. I had an early meeting canceled one Friday and decided to surprise Emily by coming home early. I thought it would be nice to spend some extra time together since we both had busy schedules. As I got closer to our apartment, I could hear Emily's laughter through the door. Curious, I quietly let myself in and heard her talking on the phone. At first, it sounded like a typical conversation with one of her friends, but then her tone shifted. She was bragging about a recent hookup with some guy named Jake. She was going into explicit detail about their encounters, laughing about how she was fooling me, and even made fun of how clueless I was. My heart sank. I stayed hidden, listening to her vile, heartless words. She was gloating about how easy it was to lie to me, saying how she loved the thrill of sneaking around. Her friend on the other end was laughing along, encouraging her. It was like listening to strangers discuss a prank on an unsuspecting victim. Emily and I met through mutual friends at a party. Our friends thought we'd hit it off because of our shared interests in hiking, movies, and cooking. From the beginning, Emily was the type who would light up a room with her presence. She had this infectious laugh and a magnetic personality. Our first few dates were magical. We went on hikes, tried new recipes together, and had movie marathons. I genuinely thought I had found my person. In the months that followed, we became inseparable. Emily introduced me to her circle of friends, and I did the same. Her best friends, Sarah and Amanda, seemed nice enough. They were always around, and we often hung out as a group. Looking back, there were red flags that I chose to ignore. Sarah and Amanda were both very similar to Emily in their outgoing personalities, but they also had this undercurrent of cattiness that I brushed off as typical girl talk. Our relationship had its ups and downs like any other. We had disagreements about finances, future plans, and the usual couple stuff, but nothing ever seemed insurmountable. Emily had this way of smoothing things over with her charm and wit. Whenever I felt uneasy, she'd pull me back in with her affection and reassurances. About 6 months into our relationship, Emily started a new job. She was ecstatic about it. The job was at a marketing firm, and she couldn't stop talking about her new colleagues, especially Jake. Jake was her manager, and she often mentioned how he was a great mentor and very supportive. I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted her completely. As Emily settled into her new job, our schedules became more hectic. We saw each other less frequently, but we always made time for each other on weekends. Emily's stories about work became more frequent, and Jake's name kept popping up. Again, I didn't think much of it. I was happy that she was enjoying her job and had someone to lean on. The first real sign of trouble came during a weekend getaway we had planned. We were supposed to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods, away from the city's hustle and bustle. Emily seemed distracted the entire time. She was constantly on her phone, texting and checking emails. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, saying it was just work stuff. I let it go, not wanting to ruin our weekend. A few weeks later, I noticed that Emily was becoming more secretive with her phone. She'd take calls in another room and her phone was always on silent. One night, while she was in the shower, a message from Jake popped up on her phone. It was a simple, "Hey, had a great time last night." My heart skipped a beat, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I convinced myself that it was just a harmless work dinner. However, the nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. I started paying more attention to Emily's behavior. She was staying late at work more often, had frequent girls' nights with Sarah and Amanda, and seemed distant. I tried talking to her about it, but she always had an explanation ready. She was just stressed from work, she said. She needed some time with her friends to unwind. One Friday, fate intervened. I had an early meeting canceled and decided to surprise Emily by coming home early. I thought it would be nice to spend some extra time together since we both had busy schedules. As I got closer to our apartment, I could hear Emily's laughter through the door. Curious, I quietly let myself in and heard her talking on the phone. At first, it sounded like a typical conversation with one of her friends, but then her tone shifted. She was bragging about a recent hookup with Jake. She was going into explicit detail about their encounters, laughing about how she was fooling me, and even made fun of how clueless I was. My heart sank. I stayed hidden, listening to her vile, heartless words. She was gloating about how easy it was to lie to me, saying how she loved the thrill of sneaking around. Her friend on the other end was laughing along, encouraging her. It was like listening to strangers discuss a prank on an unsuspecting victim. At that moment, something inside me snapped. I quietly left the apartment, not wanting to confront her in my state of rage. I needed to think clearly and not do something I'd regret. As soon as I got outside, I blocked her number and all her social media accounts. I couldn't bear to face her or even hear her voice. I went to stay with my best friend, Mark. Mark and I have known each other since college, and he's always been my go-to person in times of crisis. When I told him what happened, he was furious on my behalf. He offered to let me stay with him as long as I needed, and helped me come up with a plan to move out of the apartment I shared with Emily. Since that day, Emily has been trying desperately to reach me. She's left countless messages and voicemails, begging for a chance to explain, saying it was all a joke, that she didn't mean any of it. But how could I believe that after what I heard? Mutual friends have been calling me, saying she's a wreck, but I can't find it in myself to care. The betrayal cut too deep, and I can't see a future with someone who could speak so callously about our relationship. Some of my friends think I'm overreacting, but they didn't hear what I heard. They don't know how it feels to have your trust shattered so completely. Sarah and Amanda, her best friends, tried to reach out to me as well. They claimed that Emily was going through a rough patch and that she didn't mean what she said. But their words rang hollow. They were the same ones laughing and encouraging her on the phone. I blocked them too. I didn't need any more toxicity in my life. Emily's attempts to contact me became increasingly desperate. She showed up at my work, causing a scene and begging to talk to me. My boss, a kind and understanding man, called me into his office to discuss the situation. He was sympathetic, but also firm. He couldn't have personal drama affecting the workplace. I assured him I would handle it and apologized for the inconvenience. I decided to move out of our apartment immediately. With Mark's help, I found a new place and started packing my things. The move was both physically and emotionally draining. Every item I packed reminded me of the good times I thought we had, but it also steeled my resolve. I needed a fresh start, away from the memories and the pain. We spent a lot of time together, and slowly, I started to feel a sense of normalcy returning to my life. Despite Emily's attempts to get in touch with me, I managed to maintain my distance. She tried everything, from showing up at places she knew I frequented to sending messages through mutual friends. But I stood my ground, refusing to let her back into my life. One evening, while out with Sophie and the hiking group, I received a call from an unknown number. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something compelled me to answer. It was Emily's mother. She was calm but concerned, asking if we could meet to talk about everything that had happened. I hesitated but agreed. I had always respected her parents, and I felt I owed them at least a conversation. We met at a quiet cafe. Emily's mother looked weary, the kind of tired that comes from dealing with too much drama. She apologized for reaching out and explained that she was worried about Emily. "She's not herself," she said. "She's lost and doesn't know how to make things right. I know you're hurt, and I don't blame you for walking away, but I hope you can find it in your heart to at least hear her out." I listened, but my resolve remained firm. I told her that while I appreciated her concern, the trust was broken beyond repair. Emily's actions had shown me who she truly was, and I couldn't unhear the things she had said. Her mother understood, and we parted ways on respectful terms. As time went on, I continued to build a new life for myself. Sophie and I grew closer, and she became a significant part of my healing process. She was patient, understanding, and never pressured me to talk about Emily unless I wanted to. Her presence was like a breath of fresh air, and for the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy. One day, while out on a hike, Sophie and I stopped to take in the view from a particularly beautiful spot. She turned to me and said, "You know, I've been through my fair share of heartbreak too. It's tough, but you come out stronger on the other side. And if you ever need a reminder of that, just look around. There's so much beauty in the world, and it's all there for you to enjoy." Her words resonated with me. It was a reminder that life goes on, and there are always new experiences and people to look forward to. I realized that while Emily's betrayal had hurt deeply, it had also opened my eyes to what I truly deserved, someone who valued and respected me. Eventually, Emily stopped trying to contact me. Maybe she finally realized that there was no going back. Or maybe she found someone else to manipulate. Whatever the case, I was relieved. I could fully focus on my future without the shadow of her betrayal hanging over me. As I settled into my new life, I also reconnected with old hobbies and passions. I took up painting again, something I had loved in college but had abandoned over the years. It became a therapeutic outlet for my emotions, allowing me to express my feelings in a way that words couldn't. I also started volunteering at a local animal shelter. Spending time with the animals brought me a sense of peace and fulfillment. Their unconditional love and simple joy were a stark contrast to the complexity and pain of human relationships. It was a reminder that there is good in the world, and that not all connections are fraught with deception and betrayal. My friendships with Mark, Lisa, and David deepened as well. They had been there for me during my darkest moments, and our bond grew stronger because of it. We began to have regular game nights, dinners, and outings, creating new memories and reinforcing our connections. About a year after the breakup, I ran into Sarah at a mutual friend's party. It was awkward at first, but she approached me with a look of genuine remorse. She apologized for her part in the whole ordeal and admitted that she should have been a better friend, both to Emily and to me. She explained that she had distanced herself from Emily after realizing how toxic she had become. Her apology was sincere, and while I wasn't ready to fully forgive and forget, I appreciated her honesty. It was a small step toward closure. Sarah and I chatted for a bit, catching up on life and mutual friends. It felt like a chapter was finally closing, allowing me to move on completely. As for Sophie and me, our friendship blossomed into something more. It wasn't rushed or forced. It developed naturally over time. We had both been through heartache and understood the importance of taking things slow. Our relationship was built on trust, respect, and genuine affection, everything that had been missing with Emily. One evening, while watching the sunset from the same spot where Sophie had shared her wisdom, I realized how far I had come. I had rebuilt my life, surrounded myself with people who truly cared about me, and found love again. The pain of Emily's betrayal had faded, replaced by a deep appreciation for the journey I had been on. To anyone out there going through something similar, know that you're not alone. Trust your instincts and don't be afraid to cut toxic people out of your life. It's painful, but sometimes it's the only way to heal and move forward.